Then we'll start with the Sabres so we can get them out the way. Right now they are sitting at 18. We will say losses. The NHL says a 17-game winless streak, but they're dumb. They're one away from tying the Penguins' losing record when they were trying to get Crosby, I believe. That worked out pretty well. Though when you hear that and you look at the standings and you see 17, how does it make you feel, Will?
I'm not surprised, honestly. I've always said Eichel was the motor for our team. Anytime that he goes out, it just always turns into a bad situation. He's pretty much our only puck driver that we have on our entire roster. And without him, we don't generate any sort of offense whatsoever. So I'm not surprised by the 17. It's very demoralizing. Mm-hmm. I'll go on Twitter and look, and it'll just be jokes flying all over the place about how this could be the worst team of all time, blah, blah, blah. And listen, it's not fun, but I'm not the kind of fan to allow it and think that there's other situations. I'll be hard on our owners. I'll be hard on the GM. I'll be hard on the players. And I think it's entirely their fault right now. And I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
That is not what you want to hear. Eric Stahl, I think he got to Montreal yesterday and was talking to the media, and he was very much like, yeah, I'm good. I don't have to be there anymore. And it's been, you've talked about it, a tough season. One thing I do want to ask is, so far, and we're a good bit over halfway through the season now, maybe this is a bit, right away, like, okay, maybe exaggerating here, but is this the worst Sabres team that you have ever seen?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not, and I actually don't know if it's necessarily that close. The year we tanked for Mick Eichel, just to get one of them, we put out probably one of the worst rosters I've ever seen in professional sports. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can search it up. It was terrible. Like, I think our first line was Gergensons, Ennis, and like Cody Hodgson. Like, it was just absolutely terrible. And listen, like, on this team this year, Hall was better than all those guys. Reinhart's better than all those guys. Actually, no, Reinhart was still in the WHL, yeah. So we have talent. There's players. We have Darlene. Like, we have guys. Mm-hmm. My issue is our goaltending. Allmark is back now. And Allmark, again, he would be the number one goalie on that 2015 team if he was there, because we had Michael Neuwirth and Jonas Enroth. So, no, I can't say it's the worst team I've ever seen, but I think it's almost embarrassing that, they're doing worse than that 2015 team was. But skill-wise, no, it's not the worst team I've seen.
Interesting. Go ahead, Daniel.
So when you mentioned, I'll stick with Taylor Hall first. Well, what has the Taylor Hall, I guess, era been kind of in Buffalo for this 1 year? And when he made those comments about, of an impending trade, he said, yeah, for sure. So can you talk to me more about that?
Yeah, so listen, when we signed Taylor in the offseason, like, I'm a big fan. I thought this was going to turn into a long-term thing. I think he thought that as well. He's from, I believe he's from Windsor or somewhere around Canada, so close to home, stuff like that. And listen, I thought it was going to be long-term. Now I don't think it's going to be long-term. He's playing okay. I think he gets a lot of slack, but realistically, he's one of the only guys now on the ice that can control the puck and transition it from out of our zone into the next zone. And there's no one to help him. I think he's around 0.5 points a game, which on our team is, I think, top 3 in scoring because we average 2 goals a game. So listen, would I like to sign Hall to a 3-year, $6 million per year deal? I would. Does he want to do that anymore? Probably not. But I think he's getting a bad rap for this season when I don't necessarily think it's his fault. And I think whatever team trades for him at the deadline is going to get a really good player for the stretch run. And I think the Sabres are going to make a bad trade again. And, that's just kind of what we do in Buffalo. We make bad trades for good players. So that's what I expect.
When it comes to, like, I guess, like an idea of what a possible deal will be, what do you think you'd like to see the Sabres get at least back?
I'd like to see a first rounder. I don't know if that's what we're going to get anymore because they've been saying it's going to be a second now. It's going to be a second. I think best case scenario right now is maybe if we can do a conditional second that turns into a first, if maybe that team makes it to the Final Four or something like that. Maybe a middle of the farm prospect in there too. It really depends on the team, It really depends on the team that wants to move for him. But I'm hoping for a first round pick.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, I guess, like Taylor Hall's rap and how he's kind of been like, this is a big thing we've talked about on the show too, is just the way he's been kind of perceived as, like, people like say, is he a star? Is he an all-star? What is he? How does this time he had in Buffalo kind of affect that image he's going to have, going into potential free agency?
It depends how he performs with whatever team he gets moved to, in my opinion. I think a lot of people can just look at the Sabres and look at each individual player and say maybe they're not having success because the team is just an absolute tire fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at Eric Stahl. If any other player in the league, if that was any other guy that never played, in the NHL before and he had 5 points in the season, no one's giving up a third and a fifth. But teams know. They kind of know, like, okay, listen, we can take him out of Buffalo and he might end up playing better. I'm sure he'll play great in Montreal. But with Taylor Hall, really this, he was the MVP 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of went down to an all-star level. I think right now he's at an elite player. He's an elite player. I wouldn't say he's a superstar at all anymore. It looks like he's lost a step offensively, but I still think he's an elite player, an elite winger. And if you give him a good centerman, like he had Eichel at the beginning of the year, he's going to put up points.
Mm-hmm. I guess, like, shifting now to Rasmus Dahlin, and he's really been struggling. Can you talk to me about, like, his development, like, I guess an assessment of how to maintain, like, this trajectory for him?
Yeah, well, obviously his trajectory fell off a cliff so far this year. Listen, he had the second most points by an 18-year-old defenseman his first year, ahead of Bob Orr, and only behind his own coach at the time, Phil Housley. And listen, he's an offensive defenseman. The issue with the Sabres is when we moved to Ralph Kruger, we moved into a defensive style of hockey, which does not fit the guys that we have on our team. We don't have many defensive players. Even our forwards aren't even defensive at all, any of them. And our defensemen, if you look at it, Dahlin's offensive. Jacob Bryson's an offensive defenseman. Ristolainen is barely a hockey player. Our only really, really good shutdown guy was Jake McCabe, and Jake McCabe is injured now. And he was making Ristolainen look like a serviceable defenseman for half the year. So listen, when it comes to Dahlin, I think he's just completely being told to play the game in a way he never has. And I don't think you should do that with guys that are that young. Listen, I know you want to commit to the defensive side of the puck, but you're ruining the best defensive prospect I've ever seen coming into the draft at the very least. And the only way to get his trajectory back up is we need to hire a coach who's going to let him play his game instead of trying to teach him how to play a game that he's never played. And listen, he still shows flashes. If you watch him, he's still so calm on the puck, looks like Hedman at times. And then sometimes he looks like Cody Ceci when the other team's coming down on him. And I can't figure out what's wrong with him, but I think he's in his own head right now. And you know what? He's a defenseman. He's still only 20 years old. I'm not too worried about him, but they need to figure it out fast.
Alex?
So it doesn't sound like Mike Babcock will be your solution. That's all I got.
I don't need Babcock. I mean, listen. I used to have respect for Babcock, but then I realized if you look at any of his rosters, like ever, he never had a bad team. I think he's a little overrated. I think I could have coached Team Canada to that championship. I think that Red Wing team has like 5 Hall of Famers on it. So I'm not Mike Babcock's number one fan. You're asking, and I hope he does not. I think he should stay in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to move forward, like looking to the future for this team. Has Jack Eichel played his last game as a Buffalo Sabre?
I'm going to say no. And I think his injury might have saved the Sabres, is what I'm thinking. He's injured now, right? So he's not around the team. I think he has time to think about things, and he doesn't have to deal with getting kicked in the teeth every game now. He doesn't have to deal with that. He's at home. He's chilling. He's living life. And I think the organization probably told him, like, listen, stay home. We'll figure this out for next year. I don't even want to put any more stress on you. And I think that might have saved the Sabres. If he played this whole season, I think this would have been his last, because it's embarrassing, right? And I feel bad wasting his career. I would be open to trading him if that's what you're asking. I would trade anybody for the correct price. But no, I don't think we've seen his last game yet.
And what would the correct price be?
Yeah, I think there's two teams that
Okay.
can move for Eichel. I think there's two teams in the entire league, the Kings and the Rangers. Those are the two teams that I think could give up a substantial part of their prospect pool and players and still get better when they get Eichel, right? Every other team would have to gut their team, and it wouldn't really work. With the Rangers, I look at a few guys. It really depends on how you view those two top picks with Lafreniere and Kakko. Listen, I'm taking Lafreniere, obviously. I think he's going to be a good player. I'm not worried about his struggles. He's only 18. I would say the deal would have to be Lafreniere, one of their goalies, probably Georgiev, a couple first rounders still. Listen, I know Lafreniere was first overall pick, but I don't think he's anywhere close to what Eichel was at all. So Lafreniere, Georgiev, 2 first-round picks, and then probably a guy like Buchnevich. Like I need some sort of good, solid NHL player in the deal, right? Because I'm not trying to rebuild again. I know we're gonna have to, but I want some solid players. If you look at the Kings, Byfield, Turcotte, couple firsts. Again, that's a steep price, but I'm not giving up Eichel for nothing. $10 million is a steal for him with the way the NHL is going, with guys like Marner making 11 as a winger. So He's on a good deal, and he's a good player. So those are the two deals that I would look at. And anything less, I'm keeping him.
Our good friend Mike Jagsar. If Eichel went to the Rangers, he would be insufferable. So please never let that ever happen.
Yeah, we never hear the end of it.
I would rather ship him out west. I don't want to play him either. So give him to LA, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess then let's say we're not trading Eichel. Then what's next for this team? Like, what are you doing? What's the team doing this season and beyond, or next season and beyond? Sorry.
Well, this season they got to move their UFAs. So Hall, Montour. I think I'm forgetting someone, but Hall and Montour should go. Listen, get whatever you can, and call up guys from Rochester. This season's done. I don't care if they lose I honestly be hilarious. Just lose the rest of the games. Come dead last. Get a top 3 pick. You got to hit on that pick. Listen, I've looked into this draft, and there's 10 guys that can go in the top 3. There's a lot of different guys. There's no set number 1 this year, but you got to hit on that pick. So, yeah, you got to move Hall, move Montour, hit on your first-round pick, which is going to be in the top 3. And then we need to really work on getting better bottom 6 players, because that's been our problem. The entire 10-year playoff drought is our bottom 6 is horrific every year. We always have good lines. We have Eichel, Skinner, whatever. But Eichel, Skinner, Reinhart, like these guys play and they're good. But then the guys at the bottom, like our third line or fourth line, like Cody Eakin, we signed him to a 2-year deal. He is horrific. And I don't know if it's because it's the Buffalo effect or what it is, but like there's a difference between listen, our coaches always say, Eakin plays the tough minutes. He plays we match him up. He wins faceoffs. That's the only thing he can do. He does win faceoffs. Congratulations. There's a difference between playing tough minutes and playing tough minutes well. If you're getting caved in every shift, I respect you for going up against, the top lines, but you're not doing it well, and it's hurting our team. And I think people overvalue playing tough minutes because they're not playing it well. Listen, Cody Eakin, he can't play for my team anymore. We got to find a way to stop signing these bottom 6 forwards to 2-year deals. We picked up Riley Shahan for a 1-year deal. He's been great. And then we pay Cody Eakin for 2 years. We pay Gergensons for 2 years. We let Johan Larsson walk, who was a good 4th-line center. I just don't know if our organization has enough hockey guys in it. I think they just have a bunch of business guys. And I think the number one step is we need a president of hockey operations, and we need advisors that know hockey. Because Kevin Adams, as much as I love him as the GM, he was behind the bench for the Buffalo Junior Sabres last year. I need someone that's a little bit more advanced. And listen, I know some names. I've heard rumors of who the Sabres are going to be interested in. Karamanos is one of the guys who we might bring in. I've heard another big name, and they're names that I like to hear because they've had success previously. And that's one thing that we don't do. We don't hire people that have had success previously. We hire Kruger out of Southampton of the English Premier League. We hired Housley, who was a great hockey player, not a great coach. I want someone with a track record. I don't care who it is, except for Babcock. I need someone with a track record. I'm looking at Bruce Boudreau. Okay, I'm looking at Gerard Gallant, Claude Julien. I need someone who has coached before or management who has managed before. I'm sick of the new guys, the cheap new guys. The Pagulas, I don't know if they're saving money for Josh Allen's contract. Probably what they're doing. But they need to stop. You know, they are billionaires.
Yeah.
I want to see someone with a track record. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that was my next question, because when, you know, Kevin Adams signed, one of the things that came out was, you know, he was really close with the Pagulas. And my first reaction was, I was like, this is the wrong move already. It's like, you're bringing in a friend of the Pagulas. Like, where could this not go wrong? Do you have trust in Kevin Adams to do whatever he has to do with this team?
I think now that Kruger's gone, that was kind of the Pagula's last like effect on the hockey team. I think now they're going to take a step back. I'm hoping they're going to take a step back and they're going to hire someone who can just deal with hockey operations. I don't want them anywhere near my team anymore. They can own it if they want. Listen, they can own it all they want, but at the end of the day, they're not hockey people. And we need someone making the decisions that's a hockey person. Kevin Adams, listen, I know he's close to the Pagulas. That does worry me. But I think if we can get someone in between him and the owners, like a Karamanos or another big name, I think that would go a long way. I do trust Kevin Adams in a way. I think that Stahl trade was decent, to be honest. Listen, Eric Stahl is still Eric Stahl, but he was playing horrific hockey in Buffalo. I don't know if he just hated being there or what it was. He was a step slower than almost everyone on the ice. So to get a third, I don't mind that. I really want to see how he works out this Hall deal in Montour and who he takes in the draft. But I trust him for now, but come back in a year and maybe I don't. I don't know.